There's our people.
Okay.
Well, just so you know, I threw a hyperlink in the comments for you, so you can check out the food rates.
Yeah,
Shows they're
thank you.
65%, right about 65%.
I'm sorry for the delay. We're having our room is flickering, as you can see. I don't
Yeah.
know how to fix that, so.
I think it might be because these guys are talking about the Lions doing, the Detroit Lions doing so well. Maybe it's just throwing everything off.
I don't know. All right, we'll give it a shot. Paul, you wanna go ahead?
Okay, when we call ourselves to order, I do think we have a quorum. So with that, let's get started. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of November 14th.
So move.
Thank you. Jen, looking for a second.
I second.
Thank you. Harold, any questions, comments, or revisions that need to be made?
Yeah, I have a few comments.
Okay. That's better.
Oh, this one's definitely.
On number, on the second page. Made a comment near the bottom. It says, I shared that part of the problem is that route can get 45 minutes. Then you have to wait for the connecting bus, which is often half an hour, and should read, and then if you're taking the bus as far as Appleton, that would be another half hour. Oftentimes we can transfer at Appleton and that's the last bus. And it is right when it says, when you get to Nina, the bus goes back for 45 minutes and then another 45 minutes to come back. And so this takes let's see, 90 minutes. If you're going as far as Appleton, it would take you an hour and a half.
So I should add another,
You could add and make it 3 hours
for Appleton.
total time, and if there's, in the minutes, if there's 2 hours. And then I wrote for the whole route, or just part of the route. So it depends on where you're getting off. And so things like that. But that's take care of that. On the top of page 3, we're talking about the East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. So I wanted to say that meeting does meet every quarter. That's if more people want to attend. And right now, I attend with Nicole. And.
Yeah, and this was actually regarding a special meeting we had with them regarding. So-
Under things you wanted to add,
Okay, got it.
um,
Well, I can't really add it if it wasn't discussed at the meeting though.
okay, okay.
Cause I think with the meeting notes, I could reflect it in today's meeting notes, so I can add it.
Okay, the other question I have is asked them. Oh, God.
Are you finished, Rob?
No, I'm.
He's
I'm trying to
looking
find it.
for an acronym that, there's a question about.
Okay,
It was I don't know where it is, but it's AARPA.
ARPA, which is, one of some of the, federal stimulus funds that were, given. American Rescue.
Plan
Plan
Act.
allocation.
Yep. Yeah, so it has to do with the federal American, rescue money due to, COVID. Yeah, yep. I can spell it out though. Anything else?
What that's it.
All right, I'll spell it out when I find it.
I'll consider then the meeting minutes approved as read. Beth, would you introduce the person to do a presentation on veterans services?
Actually, I'm kind of gonna let them introduce themselves, and I apologize that you can't see them on the screen, but I think it would be better to see a black screen than have them flashing like crazy. So I'm gonna have them introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Jeff Buchholz. I'm the County Veteran Service Officer. And with me is Lydia Wills. She's the Deputy County Veteran Service Officer. I'm familiar with Supervisor Robinson and Supervisor Norton, and Beth and Brian, obviously, but may I know who's on the screen here? Is that? Who's on via Zoom?
Oh, you wanna call on people, Paul, to introduce
Yeah,
themselves?
my name's Paul Janty. I'm the ADRC chairperson. Jan, you're muted.
I'm muted. Jan Olson, I represent the Winnebago area.
Tamara
I'm Tamar Mathwig. I'm a citizen volunteer and I'm from Omro.
and Alana.
I'm Alana Erickson. I work at the Public Health Department.
I'm
That's it from this end.
Okay,
I'm Rob Patterson. I represent the disabled.
I'm Harold Singstock. I represent the LMU operation from Oshkosh.
I'm Nicole Davis Daywald. I supervise APS, benefit specs, and DCS.
So you're a county employee too?
Yes.
Okay.
and Brian, you wanna introduce yourself?
Brian Nagler, sorry, I was trying to help with the Zoom. I got a couple suggestions. For us. I don't know if you want-
Awesome.
Brian Nagler, I am the supervisor for the ADRC for the INA staff. So people who help people with their family care and IRIS and other programs to help in their home.
All right, what are your suggestions?
Suggestions were number one, log in from your account rather than the link for the meeting.
That's what I did initially.
And then the other one is unplug the HDMI cord and plug it in really tight. She said sometimes if you don't plug it in quite, it'll jump like that.
Okay.
So
Right, well, give that a quick try. And then, I mean, it seems to be really tight, but
Pam is out sick up there today, so. Skeleton crew telling me what their thoughts were.
okay. Yeah, and I don't know what's wrong. All right, I don't want to hold you guys up, so let's move along.
Yeah.
Still jumping.
I know, it was in tight and I did log in. From the-
All right,
It is.
that's okay. If I'll start, just wanna start with, clear up a little, misunderstanding too. So we're the county veteran service officers, so we work with the county. We are not federal VA employees. That's often, something that confuses people. They think we're the federal VA. That's not the case. We have, federal accreditations and state accreditations that allow us to apply for benefits and assist veterans in the county. It allows us access to VA, when I say VA Veteran Affairs, systems, online, different applications we can do. But we're not actually federal employees. We actually work for the county, and that's beneficial. I highlight that because we're here to help the veteran in Winnebago County. We don't answer to the VA and we don't answer to the state. We answer to the veterans in Winnebago County. So when we're helping a veteran apply for benefits, it's in our best interest to help them, not try and save VA monies or, state monies. We're here to help veterans apply for benefits. For the big four that I consider the big four benefits we apply for are compensation, disability compensation, and pension. Those are the two big ones. But we also apply for burial benefits, VA healthcare, and we dabble in education benefits a little bit. We're not school certifying officials, so we don't do a lot with the school stuff. I mean, we're not checking grades and stuff like that while they're going to school, but we help them with the initial enrollment applications to apply for their federal benefits. So the big ones, the biggest thing that takes up a bulk of our time is disability compensation, disability payments, and VA healthcare, and then pension, which some of you may be familiar with, the pension with aid and attendance. Those are the big ones that really take up a lot of our time.
And with a pension for aid and attendance, is that available to a widow? So if a veteran passes away and their spouse needs aid and attendance, is that available to their spouse?
Yes, it is.
They don't have to be passed away for it to be available. The veteran can still be living.
Yeah, so it can be a veteran and their spouse alive and apply for benefits. The biggest thing with the pension is there has to, boy, I don't know how much time you guys want me to go. This is a big topic to talk about. But the pension, it's a wartime era. The veteran had to serve during a period of war. So World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan. But that doesn't mean they had to go to Korea, but just that they had to serve during a period. And you had to serve at least one day during a wartime period with 90 days of service. If you meet that criteria, then you can move to the next criteria, and they look at income and assets. Throwing out to next year's numbers, they have to have liquid assets. What I mean by liquid is checking account, savings account, IRA, stocks, bonds, all of that stuff. They don't count the house, but we have to have the veteran below $150,000. And then if they meet that criteria, there's an income versus medical expenses thing, which I'm not going to go into because that'll take us a while. So, but it is eligible to veterans, married veterans, or if the veteran passes away, the surviving spouse. So there's criteria based on if it's a husband and wife together, or a surviving spouse by themselves, or a veteran by themselves. So
Thank you.
What? And the aid and attendance portion is just the level of care they need. It's not a separate program. It is literally a pension program with 3 levels of care. And all aid and attendance means is that the spouse or the veteran, they need help with their daily living activities. That is literally all that means when somebody says apply for aid and attendance. They're actually applying for the pension program, but with the doctor's form that they have to fill out, it's showing that the level of care is at that top tier. That's all that means.
So I'm going to give you some examples of how somebody might use this non-service connected pension, the veteran's pension. Let's say the veteran, he's by himself, and let's say he's 59 years old, and he's having troubles working, and he can't work anymore because of disabilities. not necessarily related to his military service, but he's just, he's got some disabilities. Maybe he was in a car accident and he's arguing with Social Security disability and they don't find him disabled. He can apply for a pension through the VA. And they'll make it their own determination if they feel has significant barriers to employment. And they may award him a pension. That pension is a monthly payment that he'll receive. Now, if he does end up getting Social Security approved, that gets factored into his pension rate, and his pension could go away or it could be reduced. So that's a scenario where sometimes we apply for pension, but most of the time when we're applying for pension, it's typically a veteran or a surviving spouse that has to be moved to an assisted living home or a skilled nursing facility. They can move into an assisted living home and they may not be able to afford the entire cost of it. The VA will step in and help them supplement their Social Security and things like that to help pay for some of those costs of the assisted living home, up to a certain amount. So the big thing about the VA pension is, remember I told you there's a maximum liquid asset rate. Like it's 150,000. Most of the time, if somebody's gonna apply for Medicaid, they're gonna be down to $2,000, right? So the whole point of this program is to try and keep veterans and their surviving spouses off Medicaid as long as possible. So that's why they supplement their payment to help them pay some assisted living care costs. So those are the two scenarios. It's usually somebody that's a little bit on the older spectrum that can't maintain a job and for some reason can't get disability approved Social Security Administration, or they're in like an assisted living or a skilled nursing facility and they need help paying the cost of the care at those facilities. So any questions on the pension? It's a quite complicated program. The best thing I do is if you identify a veteran or a surviving spouse that's a wartime era, don't try and tell them this or that because there's too many rules with it. It's best just to refer them to our office and we'll help them assess their situation to see if we always want to get them qualified. So
do you have a sense of what is an average typical pension under, like a base pension with no disability or anything like that?
Okay, with no aid and attendance, it is 1,000 for a veteran. It's different for a spouse too. So,
yeah, in this case, is a veteran, 74 years old.
Yeah.
No disability.
no disability. He's not getting Social Security or nothing.
He's getting
74
Social
years.
Security.
Okay, so that's a good question. So let's say his Social Security payment is, I'm just gonna throw an easy number for math for me, $900. Okay, let's say he has a small Social Security, just because he didn't have many work credits, et cetera. So the VA will step in and the max we can get a single veteran, let's just say, is $1,200, okay? If he's doesn't need aid attendance, so the VA will take what he gets from Social Security, subtract it from the 1,200. And the VA will give him 300 and they'll let him keep his Social Security. So it's designed to supplement them to get them out of the poverty threshold, if that makes sense. Now, if he's in an assisted living, no, it gets kind of complicated. So
Right.
because I can use medical expenses to draw down income, and I can count an assisted living home as a medical expense if they're helping with meal preparation or going to the bathroom or showering and things like that. So it's extremely complicated.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
I know
you.
Our staff comes up against it once in a while, and as far as we get is, did you serve during a wartime? And then we refer to you guys, because there's so many ifs.
Yeah, what is it? If an attorney is taking these pension applications and doing them, that's how difficult it is.
Yeah.
So, and we do it for free, but that's one of the few things that attorneys will do are these pensions because they know they can make money off of it.
Yeah, because they get a part of that, don't they?
yeah, they do.
Yeah, and then they charge you hourly to do it. So, but it's a complicated process. They can make a dime off of it. Come to us, we do it for free. That's all we do.
Really good.
Well,
Yeah.
what about a veteran that's, let's say, at 50%?
They're,
then they will look at what's the higher of the benefit. The higher benefit, you can't double dip on those disability compensation and pension. So they will look, what's the higher benefit to pay that veteran.
Oh, I see.
So if pension with aid and attendance is 2,000 a month and they're getting 50% rating at 1,000, they'll pay them the higher benefit. So. Supervisor Robinson had a question that kind of leans into our next topic I wanted to talk about. So disability compensation in the VA world, somebody can be partially disabled and receive a payment from the federal VA. It's called disability compensation. Unlike Social Security, where you have to be totally disabled, the VA grants partial disability payments. So somebody coming back from Iraq, I'm going to use an extreme example. Maybe he stepped on a landmine, he or she, and their foot was blown off. Okay, that person is not totally disabled. They can still work, but he has barriers into employment. So the VA will compensate him. They may assign a 50% rating to that foot that's missing now. So he'll receive a monthly payment from the federal government of $1,000. But they feel he can still maintain employment. He can still be an asset to society. So he would have like a partial disability. Now, there are times when veterans are totally disabled and cannot work, and they will receive 100% disability or unemployability rating, which will grant them a larger monthly payment. So that's probably the bulk of our work, believe it or not, is disability compensation. There's a lot of, and this goes all the way back to Korean War veterans. Vietnam veterans are probably our biggest customer right now, so to speak, because, well, there's several things that go into that, but for years, Vietnam veterans were not treated very well. So they wanted nothing to do with the federal government. And then lately, there's some programs and things that have gone on to help them. So we're seeing a lot of Vietnam veterans that are coming in to find out about their benefits. And that's probably our biggest customer right now, as far as what keeps us the most busy. But also Agent Orange was used in Vietnam. Agent Orange was a defoliant that was extremely nasty stuff, and it really wreaked havoc on their bodies, and they got heart issues and cancers and different things. So what we're applying for benefits for a 70-year-old veteran that hasn't been in the military for 50 years, but because of all these exposures, he's got medical conditions. So we're just now applying for some of these veterans, and that's probably the bulk of our work is disability compensation, just to make sure they're taken care of. And I lost my train of thought. So back to that Vietnam. So that's why it's not just all young kids coming back from Afghanistan. It's we service the whole spectrum of veterans in Winnebago County, literally from World War II
until today.
up until today. So it's a pretty, we never know what's going to come in every day. 1 minute you can be sitting with a World War II veteran, the next minute you're talking to somebody that's 22 years old. So it's quite the spectrum. So
And
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, they don't have to go through you. The benefit is that you're gonna help them maximize what they might be eligible for. Would that be it?
correct, they can try and do it on their own.
But half the time we're cleaning up after it.
Yeah,
So,
whenever they try and do it on their own is when we're fixing their
Yeah.
fixing messes.
We have that with SSI.
Yeah, so a little, yeah, we never encourage anybody to do it on their own. And we're very, I don't know if it's just us being kind of control freaks. But you will never have anybody come to our office and we hand them an application and say, go fill this out and bring it back when you're done. It doesn't, we don't do that, never. Very rarely, we might hand them a form and say, hey, I need your doctor to complete section 2 and 3 and then sign it. But we will literally sit at our desk and go down step by step, every item on the form and work and fill it in. So make sure it's completely perfect, because when it goes to the VA, if there's a little question, it gets kicked back. And that's why you hear these stories of things, people trying to apply like 6-7 times and then, they can't get it to go through. So we're very hands-on. in our office, because the applications are extremely complicated, and one checkbox wrong will get it rejected or send it into the spiral of development letters. So yeah, in theory, they can do it themselves, or they can get a lawyer to do it for them. Again, we do it absolutely free. It's in our office. If we're submitting a claim, we're tracking it through the whole process. When we submit it, we make sure it got received. We check it literally,
Daily,
Almost-
weekly, yeah.
yeah, all the time. We can log right into the VA system and see what they're doing. If they make a note about something, we can see what's going on. A lot of times we can nip those things in the bud if they think
We can
something's
correct-
wrong.
Yeah, we can
So-
correct a lot of,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Do you often have claims denied?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it happens every day. That's why my hair's still thin and, because
But
it's
we-
so
we
frustrating.
feel 'em.
Yeah,
A
so,
lot of times they're denied because of the VA's mistake and they're hoping the veteran's not gonna catch it. I hate to say that out loud, but it is what it is.
It is.
So we're really good at appealing them too.
so making arguments, yeah, we have to appeal a lot. And it could be, maybe they approve something, but they didn't approve a high enough rating in our opinion, and we think it should be higher. So that's when we get into the laws and kind of point things out to them and appeal and kind of argue for them, so.
And while you're here, you talked about applying for social security. Nicole supervises two people who help people with the same process, but through social security. Where, yeah, you could fill it out, likely to be denied, go through the appeal, but she's got two disability benefit specialists who do very similar work to what you're describing in the social security arena.
Yeah, I think we've referred over quite a few times, yeah. When we have a
Yeah.
veteran that we believe should be on social security, we do.
Now, is it hard to get the information out to these younger veterans?
It's hard to get them out to all people. so-
All
So,
Even Vietnam veterans?
yeah, so
In other words, it's not well known.
yes, the pension program is probably the most thing. We hear that a lot. I didn't even know this program existed until they talk to ADRC and they get referred over. They don't know a lot about some of these because you don't see it on commercials. You know, there's no advertisements in the newspapers or anything like that. So it is now we do our best to disseminate it out to the community. We're doing outreach events. We have meetings that we host and we send out
Send
emails and newsletters and.
We do reach out to all of the assisted living and nursing homes too. We send a letter every 6
Yes.
months to remind them that, hey, this is a program, so put it in your screening if it's a veteran or a veteran spouse.
Yeah,
How to reach out.
that's a good point. We do that. We visit the nursing homes too and assisted living homes and let them know, hey, we bring this card and we just my card, we kind of talk a little bit. Sometimes we even, sometimes they'll even invite us to have at some other little internal veteran meetings, and we'll have little discussions. So it's, we do our best to disseminate it, but to Supervisor Robinson's, point, the youngest crowd are the hardest ones to get because they're working, they got kids. You know, they're not watching TV,
They don't know what's available to them. They don't know that they can get the help that's really there for them.
So disability, pension, and then burial benefits is another thing that we do. That's pretty self-explanatory. All veterans are entitled to a marker for their grave. There's military funeral honors. Sometimes there's a monetary payment that can go to the surviving families. So we do help with that. There's national cemeteries, there's state cemeteries, but not all veterans have to be buried at a King Cemetery in Wapaka. They can be placed right here in Lakeside or is it Riverside or Lakeside?
I don't need a cemetery.
What's that?
Lakeview.
Lakeview. I'm more familiar with the need.
I know, it's like, you're asking wrong.
So, they can be buried local in their own cemeteries, and the VA will help with a headstone or a marker or some sort of veteran marker, different things, military funeral honors. So unless there's any questions, I'll skip over burial.
Well, the spouses my sister is buried at a VA National Cemetery, and then my brother-in-law, which was a Vietnam veteran, he'll be buried right there at the same site. So the spouse of that veteran can be buried at a VA cemetery.
Correct.
This is a national cemetery, Great Lakes National Cemetery in, Holly, Michigan.
Same with King, yeah, the state cemetery out at King. A husband and a spouse can be buried out there.
Right.
And if you come across a veteran, or maybe he doesn't have any family or doesn't really care where he goes, they can go out to King and be buried for free. Literally for free. The headstone.
Same way with Great Lakes.
Completely free, so, anyways,
That's incredible. You know that.
so the spouse can be buried out there too at a state cemetery, but sometimes there's a interment fee.
$500.
It's pretty low compared to, I mean, some of the perpetual care fees at some of these local cemeteries don't even, are more than that, so,
I have a question. For example. Can a person qualified for SSI also qualify for SSDI?
that's not my,
That would be more Nicole's staff.
okay, but, so let's say a veteran is 100% disabled and he gets VA disability. He can also apply for Social Security disability. We often do that. We tell people to go apply, especially if they're younger. Let's say they're 50, whatever years old, and they're not gonna be working anymore, that we get them 100% totally disabled. We tell them to go to Social Security Administration and apply. Well, we refer them over that. Because they can actually get both benefits.
Is that still a scenario where they would subtract the one though?
No, it is not. That's the pension program.
Oh, yeah.
So the pension program, they subtract. Disability compensation from the VA, they can get both Social Security disability and VA disability. The pension is a different animal. Then you can get both, but
They'll offset.
they'll offset each other. So,
Do you feel like it's been a help to be on third floor with us? Because that's how we perceive having you guys there. It's nice to be able to refer people if we're meeting with someone. No, this is where you go. You just need to walk over here and ask for an appointment. Has it felt that way on the opposite side of things?
I think it's opened our eyes to what each other does.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
big time, because I hate bothering everybody, but it is kind of nice just to walk across the hall.
Thinking the same thing.
Well, wouldn't you have felt that kind of way? 'Cause veterans have been in the NINA office, how long have they been in the NINA office?
Yeah, for quite a
Yeah,
long.
and that's how Brian and I know each
Right,
other.
and that's why I would think that's why it'd be a natural fit, and that's why. Well, I know where we used to be stationed in that place, and I guess that's glad that you. I picked the right place, yeah.
They're still there.
Yeah.
We still have an office in Nina.
I know, man,
Oh,
where the Oshkosh used to be at the courthouse.
oh, sure.
When I first started working for the county, Brian worked in Nina, and that's how I was like, Brian, I was bugging him all the time.
Same thing to you. I was an IMA staff member up in the Nina office. So. And I remember we had a case in particular that our caregiver programs and the aid and attendance program worked together very well for this company. I mean, this guy was lucky enough, as I remember, it's a long time ago, to have, I want to say it was Parkinson's, might have been a Vietnam vet with the Agent Orange, Parkinson's and Lewy body dementia. So talk about two of the worst things you could have.
Yeah,
We
no
had
kidding.
that. So she needed a lot of help. And I remember we had a case where kind of he got the aid and attendance and then got our caregiver programs and she was able to keep them in the home. It's beautiful.
But there's a lot of other things he helped me with that I didn't understand, like the housing authority and those applications, and well, how do you, what is all this stuff? So it was kind of nice. So disability compensation, pension, burial, and VA healthcare, that's our another big thing that takes up a lot of our time, is getting veterans enrolled in VA healthcare. There are different qualifications for that. Sometimes people think that VA is an insurance. VA healthcare, it's not an insurance. We get people enrolled in VA healthcare and they're assigned a primary care provider at the VA clinic in Appleton, or Green Bay, Milwaukee, depending on where they live, you know, but, so they go there to those facilities for, assistance from the VA. It is not like I said, it's not insurance. But they can, so they can be on Medicare and still use the VA for some of their healthcare needs. Maybe they want hearing aids from the Veterans Affairs. Well, the VA will give the veteran hearing aids or eyeglasses. Or maybe they're on a prime example. I'll use my dad as an example. He's diabetic and he's on insulin. That insulin is expensive and it would put him in the donut hole every year for medications. You know, they're paying a lot of every year. Now that he's in the VA, he gets those medications from the VA at an extremely discounted cost compared to what he was paying before. So that doesn't mean that's his only primary care provider. He has a primary care provider at, you know, theater care, but he's just using it to supplement his Medicare, his medical needs. So VA healthcare, they rank people 1 through 8, so to speak. Priority groups 1 are people that are 50% or more disabled from service-connected disabled. Priority 2 is its 30s and 40s. Priority 3 is 10s and 20s. And then there's different categories below that. A Vietnam veteran is category 5. Maybe he doesn't have any disabilities at all. But they still want that veteran enrolled in VA healthcare because they want to track his conditions as different diagnoses. Because if he has a diagnosis of something that was caused by Agent Orange, then they're going to refer him to our office and go through those steps. So then there are times when you get all the way down to the bottom where they look at income. If the veteran did not go to Vietnam or did not go to Iraq and they have no disabilities and they're doing okay, but medical expenses are still dragging them down, we can get them enrolled in VA healthcare. They do a means test. What I mean by that is they look at income and medical expenses, and then they determine if there's a financial need for them to get assistance from the VA. For somebody that's living in Winnebago County, husband and wife couple, we typically need, and they don't have any other automatic qualifiers, we typically need to get them down to about 57,000 a year, which isn't a whole lot. When you think about it nowadays. So if the veteran and his wife or her spouse they did quite well, they got $100,000 in annual income from whatever, chances are the VA they're not going to enroll them in VA healthcare because they can barely keep up with what they have now. So our big things: pension, disability compensation, burial, and healthcare. And like I said, we dabble in education. I'm probably talking way too much. This is my problem. You guys get me here and just keep going and going. You gotta say.
The one thing about healthcare is because we don't have a VA hospital anywhere except for Milwaukee. So if you're enrolled in care and you get into a car accident and you're rushed to the emergency room, the VA doesn't have to cover that bill because it's not health insurance, it's health care. So that's where we're always telling veterans.
Can I interrupt on that? It's depending on your percentage.
Well, correct. I'm just saying for VA healthcare in general.
Oh,
I mean, even if you are 100% service connected, they don't have to cover it if it's not
They do.
due to your
I'm just telling you, they do.
rate.
All you gotta do is call into the
Well,
72-hour line.
What I'm getting, I was getting there.
Oh,
I was
okay.
getting there. You wanna, they don't have to cover it. You have to give them the option. And so there is a number you have to call or your emergency contact
Yeah,
has
right
to
here.
call. And if nobody calls, the VA can deny that bill. But if they call and say, hey, so-and-so had a heart attack while they were driving, they were rushed to the emergency room, they're being treated at Aurora, what do you want us to do? The VA has to have that option of saying, stay there, get treated, or hey, we're sending our ambulance up from Milwaukee to grab this person to come treat him at our facility. I've yet to see that happen, but I'm just saying it's an option that they have the right to throw out there. So VA healthcare does not mean you're gonna get covered anywhere you go. It's only at a VA facility, only if the VA approves it. Period. So it's not insurance.
Yeah. So that's a good point. That, because it's like anything, if I just sent. If I just sent Supervisor Norton a bill for $50,000 and said, pay it, he'd be like, what, why am I paying this bill?
Yeah.
So.
And we,
What would be the reasoning behind them wanting to come up and get someone?
like I said, I've never seen it happen, but you just have to give them.
Curious.
It's probably cheaper for them to take care of them in their own facility than it is to be billed by Aurora or Theta Care. So.
Everything's gotta be pre-approved with the VA,
Mhm.
so.
A question, Beth, for you or the presenters. Do you have a sense of how many interactions you folks have between ADRC and County Veterans Office each month? Ballpark? Is it one, none, 50?
Oh,
100?
Oh, no.
Oh, wait,
We're getting a lot for economic support. We get a lot.
yeah, it's not just ADRC,
That's the
sometimes you
county.
guys all blend together.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, it's-
Strictly ADRC, I was gonna guess around 7, 8.
I was gonna say 5 to 10, so, yeah. I could probably get that data, is that?
No, because if we're referring, well, you have to look at both outcomes and referral.
Right. We might be able to get somewhat near, but I surmise that it's probably that.
Yeah, somewhere between 5 and 10.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes it's just soft conversations. I mean, I could just go over to the window and ask like, hey,
Yeah,
You
we
know.
don't track that.
I guess we don't. Maybe that's on our end. We don't do a very good job of, tracking how many people we refer to ADRC.
At our meeting last month, we talked a little bit about this help program that's gonna be starting for homelessness prevention. And I'm guessing you'll have a lot of interest.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. So
January 16th, we'll start taking referrals, so.
that's been an issue for us lately.
Let
Homelessness.
me, you done with your presentation or you have more?
No,
Let me. Reason I was eagerly wanted to hear is, some of us are interested in senior housing. Going in the future, and senior housing can also be veterans. Talk to me, and explain more about, the county executive said that maybe we could give funds for Veterans Park, is that what it's called, in Appleton? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. And then I'm thinking, why do we have veterans housing doesn't for veterans here in this county? Since we have land, we have a place that's up at Parkview. I'll let you speak.
okay. So in Appleton, they have something that's referred to as Veterans Village.
Yep.
And what that is it is veteran specific apartments. They have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom apartments there. That property was, up until just recently, was turned over to them, but it was owned by the Appleton Housing Authority. Or was it Allegheny Housing Authority? Either one. So what that is it's specifically, you have to be a veteran to get in there. It is subsidized, or it's, if you can afford it, you pay the whole rent. If you can't, they subsidize it through the housing authority. It is basically just veteran specific apartments, but it is not senior living or assisted living or anything like that. They provide no services there. It's just a veteran only apartment complex. Now, things that the county exec and our office and other members of the county have discussed is we would like something like that here, okay? But also, there's also a need for something that, for transitional housing. One of the things we struggle with is, so we have veterans at the shelter now. Sometimes it takes us time to get benefits for them. the application process, it could take us a while. Maybe we gotta get records, we gotta apply for benefits. That whole process takes time. What we would like is some sort of transitional housing piece in the county here. Because if we have veterans that we can't necessarily help right away, maybe they need some help to get back on their feet, we have to ship them up to Green Bay or Chippewa Falls or Union Grove. There's nothing here in the valley, Winnebago County and Outagamie County. We gotta ship that, we gotta get rid of our problems, so to speak, onto other parts of the state, instead of keeping them local here until we get them back on their feet and reintegrated back into society. Sometimes, a transitional piece would be nice because it'd give us some flexibility. We can get them in, we can get them housed, we can get them, for the most part, a safe environment for them, and we can keep tabs on them and get them get them back on their feet. Either a job, or maybe they can't go back to work and they need disability help. We can help them with all that. So there's two different scenarios I would lean towards. Veterans Village, here in Oshkosh would be amazing. But it doesn't have to be just an entire veteran thing. If there was like any type of senior house.
Or transitional housing, because there are a ton of people, veteran and not, that are in the exact scenario, they're waiting for social security, disability, veterans, they're just in that gap where if we could house them for, a month, 3 months, whatever it takes to get them on their feet in our county.
Transitional piece to me is more valuable because it doesn't matter how many apartments you have. If that person can't pass a background check or can't, credit check or doesn't have income, they're not getting in. What do you do with them? Go to the shelter.
Have you started pursuing this? Because like I say,
It's been discussed.
I know Parkview has land out there. I know the prior county executive talked about maybe having a assisted living out there. I used to be on the housing authority for the county. They have a building which they're going to use for a different reason over the old waste rug plant. They're going to turn part of that building into a daycare. I think it's fall through. That could be, it takes some time, takes some fixing up to, but there's a building that could be used. I guess this is a very good idea. I'm very much pursuing. It's really what our mission is, help program our thing. So I would hope in the next year or so that you have this support, two bars of support, because we have, the question that I get if I propose this is how do we sustain it and how do we keep it running? You kind of said that if we can get the housing authority to do with our housing vouchers, I mean, like I say, I know, and Brian probably knows about, I know the housing authority has, I know it's only 5 housing vouchers, but they're set except for veterans, but so like I said, if we can come up with a plan and we come subsidize it, I think we can sell it to the board and to executive, and I hope if there's a need, like I say, maybe we don't have to have a full thing, we said like they have a village in Outagamie County, but I don't see why we can't have something like that in this county, wherever it is. So that's what I'd like to see us pursue in the next year or so. And we don't know, we have these ARPA funds. I don't know what we're going to use them for. I think this is a good thing to use them for. That's my opinion. So.
And I have looked at some properties, and Mike Elder has taken us out to Parkview and showed us some land out there that's available. We had an assisted living home that I really liked, that was, the property is being sold and it was all set up just perfect, for a transitional piece. But it got some problem is that they get snapped up so quick, and we're so slow in the county now.
Don't turn on the dime.
No.
For the housing market, it would be impossible for the.
Yeah, and it's also, I don't want to run it. Lydia does not want to run it. We'd like to have a nonprofit, and at the time we had Fox Valley Veterans Council with this assisted living. They were gonna be our nonprofit to run it. My thought was we buy the property, let them run it. Boom.
They know what they're
Yeah.
gonna do.
They're definitely good, believe me.
Yeah. So,
The Fox Valley
so we have had, to answer your question, Supervisor, we have had a lot of conversations. We have looked at properties and it's a matter of this work. We gotta figure it out. So
It's a little shameful. This is the parent community trying to reintegrate them to our community.
Well, Green Bay's always full, so we have to. we
Yeah,
have to send
Typically,
them-
that's some of the Chippewa Falls or Union Grove.
So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter that they have family here, nothing. Valley, it's down in Madison. Janesville area.
I would just as soon keep them here.
Well, what's nice about these transitional livings through WDBA is they're 2 years. So you have 2 years to get on your feet.
That old Valley Fair Mall, they were gonna give that up for like $1, and they just wanted somebody to do something with it. That's,
That would be an ideal location too, because that's Winnebago County. It's close to Outagamie County and,
Exactly.
and we can tap into Calumet. So all three counties would probably support something.
I know.
So
Uh-huh.
that's another piece is how can we,
If you're still looking on, you could find out who owns it. They were itching to get rid of it.
we've had some schools that I've looked at. It's big old.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's not, like you said, it's not a veteran problem. It's not, it's everyone's problem, right? Because I was just on the state dementia community conversation, and it's the same thing. There's not a crisis facility, there's not transitional housing for people who are in crisis right now, who have dementia, and we can't find a place for them. There's the transitional housing issue with every facet of the population right now. There isn't any transitional housing that's fully staffed or has openings that will accept people who maybe are a little bit more difficult or don't have the funding. It's very interesting because while it's presented that we don't have caregivers, when I went to the Oshkosh Senior Resource Network, they said, like, I think Home Instead was like, we've been fully staffed for a year. Problem is, they're fully staffed for like private pay clients. Like, unfortunately, because managed care rates are so low that they take on very few of those type of clients. But when I was talking to them, they're like, well, if you have anyone who needs 24-hour care and then, it's private pay, like we can staff that immediately. We staffed 2 cases yesterday. So
But if they're on state assistance.
Right.
Forget it.
yeah, and I used to run a home care business, and I mean, to be completely honest, the only way we could stay afloat is to
Private pay.
prioritize private pay because the reimbursement rate is so low that we couldn't pay our staff well enough to keep them. So I mean, so there is a caregiver shortage, but there's really a caregiver shortage because of certain funding routes for people who really need it, probably.
Are we at a point in the conversation for this portion of our agenda to be finished?
Harold, did you have a question?
You talked about wanting to help people get back on their feet. Does Fox Valley Tech and Afton have any programs where they geared directly for veterans to help such as lower tuition costs or anything?
Yeah, we do. So if they're a Wisconsin veteran or they're not gonna take a veteran from Illinois and let them go to the tech for free, but a Wisconsin veteran, like if Supervisor Robinson here wanted to go back to Fox Valley Tech and learn how to weld, they would waive the tuition at that college for him.
That's awesome. Wow.
So there's also benefits for dependents. But that's another whole topic. So I literally could talk to you guys all night, so you better cut me off. It's not a chair.
I have one more question. On the application form. We talked about, healthcare. It's not insurance, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And suppose on the application form, do you have different areas you can fill out? They can fill out, say, they have a disability, or whether it's physical or mental or whatever. I'm just wondering about that.
So there are,
I'm asking.
yeah, maybe, so different, there are part of the application.
Category.
But part of the application will ask if you have a disability, service-connected disability through the VA and what your percentage is and different things like that, but they don't get into specifics as far as what type of disabilities you have and things like that. So, does that answer your question?
Yes and no.
Okay,
I think basically saying, yes, there is a spot on the application to indicate you have a disability.
correct.
Yeah, one
So-
section of the application for VA healthcare is all about automatic qualifiers. So if you mark yes in any of those, they'll automatically enroll you into VA healthcare. And one of those questions is if you have a service-connected disability. And you would mark yes.
Well, I got a question, because you said that it's not an insurance, then why do I get a form every year from the government and stating that I have insurance?
No, it
It's
says you have
coverage.
credible healthcare coverage.
Yeah,
Healthcare coverage, yeah, that's what I
it's
mean.
not insurance.
Well, okay, it's not insurance because you don't really pay anything.
Yeah, well, you can't take your VA veterans healthcare card and go to Aurora and have them run it as insurance.
That's what I do.
No, you get
No.
community care approval.
No, if I go to emergency, I just tell them my
Yeah.
service number.
But you're calling that 72-hour.
And I'm calling that 72-hour number.
Let's say you wanted
And
to
then
go,
I ended up in the hospital and then they covered everything.
but let's say you broke your leg, or no, let's say, I'm choosing something.
You
said
cut your finger cutting an onion and you went into the emergency room.
Well, same thing. I know what to do.
No, I'm just saying, you wanted to have another hearing exam done. And you went to Aurora and to have your hearing done without.
Well, I use community care a lot. I do
But
that.
that's getting a referral from the VA. It's
You have to get a referral from your VA doctor.
Where, or the option is to flash your Medicare card and you could.
I don't use Medicare. Why should I pay back and help you?
So Medicare is insurance. VA is not insurance.
Uh,
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Why? But you could,
Yeah, I could,
because
I know veterans that do.
yeah, but then you would get charged co-payments and things like that.
That's it.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
Okay, I just wondered why it's called, what did you say it was called?
Yeah, credible healthcare coverage.
A credible healthcare coverage. Okay,
Either way, you're covered.
either way.
Yeah, yes,
You're
I
talking,
just
you're
wondered.
talking your 1095B, is that what it's
yeah,
called?
that's what
Yeah,
he said.
What is it?
The 1095
Oh,
B.
okay.
which they still send out, which you don't need.
Well, you used to need it to file or something. What was it for?
You didn't get
Because of-
penalized for not having coverage.
Right, and you get penalized for that.
Okay, Terry, you better
Thank
come
Um,
talk.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you very much.
if you're gonna stick around for our meeting, but just to let you know, our next agenda is, we're looking for more members for this. Committee, we're down a couple members and we're gonna be losing a couple more this year. Just because you can only stay on this committee for 6 years. And so right now we're looking for people, over age 60 that are, not living in Oshkosh is our kind of target right now.
Like Dina Menasha people?
Sure.
Rick,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we lost someone from Nina, someone from Menasha, so we don't have a lot of representation in the northern part of the county. And at least half of our committee has to be over age 60, so just if you happen to run across anyone, we are always looking for people to be voices on the committee.
And they can be part of this and part of another committee.
I tried to recruit Tom Steiner, he wouldn't do it.
Yeah. What about Roy Rogers? He's
I
the
don't know,
Menasha.
you can, yeah, ask him, yeah, but no.
Yeah, I know, Roy.
Yeah.
Although we can only have a couple of county board supervisors.
He's not a board
He's not a board supervisor.
Well, if anyone knows who wants to.
No, no, he ain't got nothing to do with the county.
We're not the county, we're the aging and disability reception.
Yeah, but you should.
Sorry, Paul, I jumped ahead. I just wanted to connect with them about that while they were here. So thank you so
Okay.
much.
Nicole, do you want to talk about Oshkosh meal sites, please?
Sure.
That skipped over committee member recruitment, and number 4.
Well, just that the county exec's office has been very clear that, they're willing to appoint people, but they don't have any candidates in mind. So they are looking for us to channel candidates that meet the criteria that I was just talking
So-
about.
Repeat what you just said, well, how many people have to be, what age you said?
They need to be over age 60.
Okay, all right, because I thought you said 50, I thought it was 50,
No,
I'm just
no,
kidding.
60.
And then you don't have to have a balance between 60 and disabled at all, no?
No, they used to do proportions, but now they just want us to represent all target groups and to make sure that the half of the group is over 60.
And which two are we losing this year, can I ask?
Paul,
I'm off, or my term is up in May of next year. And Kate Fender's term is up in August of next year.
I think we're losing somebody this year, though. It might be Jan.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we have heard from the disabled person from my district, what's his name, who has been there since March or whatever. Have you heard
Oh,
from him?
yes, he had to pick up his kids today.
Okay, right. It's all, right.
That's all right.
So, an update. Well, I asked for an update on December 2nd. And then I asked for a reminder after that, and then I asked for another reminder today, and I haven't gotten the full list yet. But I was told on December 2nd that the plan was to open the senior center meal site on December 5th. And Harold, do you know if that opened? Because I never,
Open.
it is
It's
open.
been open 1 to 2 weeks already.
Okay.
I've eaten it 3 times.
Yeah, so have people come back?
Yeah, there hasn't been very many, but it hasn't been advertising.
Sure, because I didn't get a confirmation that it was open and how it's been going. So my goal is to get the full list and any reasons as to why certain sites may not be open yet. And when I get that, I will email it out because I did ask for it to make sure I had it for today's meeting. And I'm still waiting. So.
Thank you, Harold, for being our spy.
Is the problem, remember? Remind me, is it because of the AVCAP or is it because of the site, which is why they're not operating?
So when I asked, they said it was because of the senior center that they had been using the room. And I think that, to be honest, because after Harold talked, I said, you know, we have people who are really upset that it's not open. So I want a really good reason. And magically, then the next day I got an email that they had worked with the senior center to open it earlier than planned. So good job, Harold. I'm glad to hear your
Well,
feedback.
Typical thing, there was some finger pointing.
Yeah.
I heard some, I don't want to mention this, but there was a little finger.
So-
But they're open and they do serve a good meal.
So when does that happen? What time and what?
They
day?
start at 11:15
Every day or?
during the week. They do offer weekend meals too.
Oh, okay.
Those, the weekend ones are frozen. You pick them up on a Friday. But otherwise just Monday through Friday. And they start at 11:15 and until the last person leaves. And you donate whatever you want to donate. It's a good program, it really is.
Do you know how much the meals actually cost?
No, I don't know what they call
I think between $6 and $12, depending upon the meal, is what it actually costs.
Nicole is correct. When I should have a cap and that would be up the cost because they only get like an average donation of like $2 or so.
it. They tell me that the meals are made by Canteen, is it, in Appleton? and
Yes.
Delivered to 3 or 4 places in Oshkosh, and like I say, I've been there twice and the meal is very good and it's hot.
And they do a good job of making sure that it follows the federal nutrition guidelines of getting enough beans and protein and the different colored vegetables and trying to be creative with that. One of the things that we're trying to do is trying to get more ethnic diversity within the meals so that, you know, other cultural groups within Winnebago County can also feel like they have a presence in the meals. So that will be a goal for 2023.
That seems to tie in with their program. At the library.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if any of you haven't been yet, the next one will be January 10th, because we're giving the first week in January a break because everyone's really busy. But last week, Susan Garcia Franz from the public health did a presentation on Ecuador, and she made a traditional Ecuadorian food called humitas. It was very good. It's totally free. It's at the Y from 11 to 12:30. And so January 10th, we have Marcy from Marcy's Brazilian restaurant coming to cook something. So very exciting. It should be very interesting to see what she's going to cook. I've heard that they have great food there. If anybody's ever tried it, I haven't. So
I haven't, but I heard a great thing.
So what time is it?
from 11 to 12:30. So you don't have to be there the whole time. You can choose to come right at 11, and then they talk a little bit about the culture. But if you just pop in anytime during that time, you can pop in and sample the food. And it's completely free. You don't have to be a Y member.
Oh, that's just at the downtown.
It is at the downtown Y. That's where we're testing it out. We started it in order to provide the ability for people to socialize over food in Winnebago County, specifically in the Oshkosh downtown area, and be able to try different cultural cuisines without, having to pay, and being able to meet other people and ask questions. It's been really awesome because when people have come, they've asked a lot of questions about, hey, where would I buy that? Or what type of stores sell those things? Or been able to be open to ask questions that maybe you never felt comfortable asking. Specifically, our most recent one, there was a lot of questions about the different types of tamales and the different ways to make tamales. And so it's been really cool. And I think anybody who comes would really enjoy it. Actually, Beth B has come both times.
Nice.
And she is a former ADRC employee who retired, and it's a really cool setting to be able to relax and enjoy new foods.
You're gonna have an event poster and email the people.
Yes,
Well,
yeah, we will. The YMCA, actually, the really nice thing about working with them is they have their own marketing team. And so they make the poster. So when they have it, I will definitely send it out.
It'll probably be in our newsletter. too,
Yeah.
For January.
As soon as we get it.
And did that
Thank
start-
you.
Did that start from, wasn't there a report that we kind of determined there were food deserts and stuff in our community or places? Is that what that started out of, or that idea? It's a great idea.
So what happened is that our aging plan, when I was going over it with the state, said that that's what we were gonna do, is we were going to offer different cultural connections through food. And we hadn't done it yet, so.
Here we are. Well, good job.
Standard of the accountable for stuff.
I don't know, Beth maybe wants to take some credit for this. I remember me and Beth went to a discussion a few years ago at the last ARC meeting or conference, and they had how
Yeah.
different ways you can have meal sites, like you can go to restaurants. You could have restaurants come in, you could have
trucks.
food trucks. You could have different ways, like once a month or once a week to do that, and that's maybe what grew out of this. And then I know you would talk to AVCAP when I was on AVCAP, said, why don't you, they're open to it, so I'm glad. Maybe we can get, you're doing the why, and this program, maybe we can do other things more like that, so I thought it, and maybe it can grow.
We're trying.
And it's free.
Can I say it's free?
Beth, you want to talk about meeting frequency, please?
Right now, as you know, we meet monthly. Just given that we're still having a little bit of a trouble recruiting for new members, wondering whether we want to continue to meet monthly or switch it to every other month or quarterly or any other frequency. I'm just throwing it out there.
I guess I would be opposed, I'm not opposed to canceling per meeting a month. I guess I like a continuality of having every meeting every month scheduled. I serve in a couple different meetings where we don't do that. I don't like that because you don't know if we're meeting this month or not. That's why I'd be opposed to it. If we're gonna have it, we should have a definite schedule, like a quarterly or something. Like I said, in general, I would be opposed to doing every other month or something like that because I continue now, so I'll just say that.
Other input?
I'd rather keep it the way it is. so you can stay updated on different things. And there's so many things that there's so many things that intersect with each other.
Absolutely.
So,
Harold,
I'm flexible, I'm happy to either way. Either way.
Michael?
Well, I would say monthly would be great. I mean, to me, it's, we gotta get the word out there to the people, I think, and if you stretch it out to a 60-day period or something like that, you know, it's kind of tough.
If you people that are on Zoom right now have input, that's fine. If we take it to a vote, you're not able to vote, but you can certainly provide input on your thoughts.
My preference would be as one member to have it monthly. Jan, you're muted. Sorry.
Okay, I think I'm on. Yeah, I think monthly, unless there's, not really any meat to a meeting, so to speak, like this Veterans Service presenter today was very interesting and as an example, and if there is a point where you really don't have that, then, skip a meeting here or there or go to every other, but I guess it depends to me. In my opinion, it would be depending on what material, what information is going to be out there.
Good. I just want to throw it out there. So it sounds like everyone's okay with continuing as is.
Just one last thing about recruitment. Beth, maybe you've done it in the past. Have you ever written to those members of the Nina, Manasseh, Amro, whoever has a aging committee and those committees, to say maybe one of those members would like to serve on this for a while? I mean, I know that they may say they're too busy there, but maybe there's someone there who would be willing to serve on both, and that's how we could recruit someone that way.
Yeah, I think I intended to do that.
Yeah, all right. But I keep on trying. I talk to people in those areas outside of Oshkosh, and I'm trying to, hey, I don't contact Beth Roberts. Talk to her first. Could you talk to her? And she'll tell you, oh,
Yeah, contact the Financial Senior Center.
Okay, I think we're, unless Beth, you feel otherwise, you want to lead us through a staff report of what's going on in your world?
Oh, gosh, nothing really new different since last month. I really don't, oddly enough, I don't have a lot to report.
Okay.
I usually end up by the time you guys all go around, I have something to add, but
Okay.
I don't have anything new and different right now.
Brian?
We're humming along pretty good. It's busy at the old ADRC. We did 48 enrollment packets to Family Care or Iris this last month in November. And I was just saying in our division meeting this morning, I suspect that we will beat that this next month. December has been so far even busier. Getting probably anywhere from 3 to 7 enrollment packets for Family Care or Iris per day to approve. So that's good. There's a lot of work that goes along with that, with functional screening and options and enrollment counseling. So we're doing good. For the first time, I'm happy to say that we are fully staffed. All of our FMLAs that we had been under right now are over, which is a beautiful thing. So we have our full staff back and ready and raring to go. We actually added a staff member to our Nina office, which makes things a little easier up there. It's a little less frequent that they have to be on call up there because they were swimming in it a little bit. They weren't able to kind of get the work done from the one day they were on call by the time they were on call the next day, which literally with 4 people could have been twice a week. So that's a really good thing. And think of, I am not retraining, but refreshing staff on AFCSP and NFCSP. We did NFCSP a couple of meetings ago at our team meeting, and we're doing AFCSP tomorrow. It's first and foremost to kind of make sure that we're utilizing the program correctly. But that there are caregivers out there that we're actually spelling or getting respite to. And all. Someone, sorry.
Yeah, she's on right there.
But just trying to refresh, we overspent in our NFCSP program this year. And we're just trying to have more parameters, more knowledge of what we're authorizing for 2023. So not only am I doing this refreshing, kind of PowerPoint presentation, I'm also meeting with our staff to understand their caseload specifically as to what they're authorizing. Is there caregivers? Are there, do we really need all the hours that are authorized, that had been authorized for 2022? We're just having that conversation. So it's a busy month, but a good month. It's good work. So I think that's all.
Thank you. Nicole?
Sure, so we are having our training for our virtual dementia, and we are officially getting that started in January 2023 every month. The second Thursday of each month from 9 to 12, we will be offering anyone in the community to attend that. And in our newsletter, we will put our registration information and probably post that on our Facebook, because we do have a link to register for that. We were able to get that set up and ready to go. And we're excited to be able to start that. We also are working on a collaboration with the Senior Center and the library to do more of an event for World Elder Abuse Day in June of next year. So starting in January, we're going to be meeting monthly to plan a walk on that day to kind of make it a bigger, more memorable event and really get the community involved and educate people on what elder abuse looks like, because it doesn't look like child abuse. And I think that sometimes people don't recognize the really small signs. And so we really want to get the community educated. So we're starting planning that now, which is very exciting. So yeah, so we're working on talking about things that we want to focus on in 2023. And it's very exciting to hopefully be able to follow through with some events and not have to cancel them.
Couple things for you, Nicole. This dementia, what do you call it? This dementia what?
Experience.
Is this what Mary was talking about the last week at his conference? You remember, Beth?
Yes, yes, it is. Yep.
Now, if I heard you right, that means someday I went off, I call up, I said, I can register and do this, go through this myself?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and that's great. I'm not saying that's great. Have you ever thought about having, I don't know if you want to publish it, having certain dates for the public, it'd be more inviting the public to do it, so it'd be easier for the staff who does it to go, oh, we're gonna have, I don't know how long it takes. How long does it take to go through this?
So it specifically takes 8 minutes
Okay.
to go through the experience, but we have time set aside to get people prepared for the experience and to get people debriefed afterwards to really be able to connect with it and learn something. So about an hour, and we can run 3 people each hour.
So, I mean, I just think it'd be,
It's open to the community. I mean,
where, and it's here.
It's at Parkview.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. But I'm just saying that, and I know it's open to the community, it'd just be easier to, maybe for the staff. I mean, so I say, I want to do this tomorrow, obviously give 24 or 40 whatever hours. I register and I come in, oh, I want to do it at 10 o'clock, and you can do it. So the next person they get is not until like 3 days later. I'm just,
No, it's 1 day a month.
okay, all right.
And so it's the second Thursday of each month from 9 to 12.
All right.
So it's one specific day and it's the same day every month. So you either can go at 9, 10, or 11.
Thank you.
Yep, and so that way it's easy for the public to know, like, hey, we have a couple of people, like, it's any second Thursday of any month throughout the whole year.
You said the second Tuesday?
Thursday.
And is it? Is it mobile? Could you move it to a different, if you had an event, wherever it was, at the expo center or the convention center, could you move it? Or is it not that not very mobile.
It's mobile, but you have to have the right setup to do it.
Okay, I,
Sure, so you have to have like 2 rooms, you have to be able to set up a
Okay.
bed and a closet and a dresser and a bathroom.
okay,
So it makes it a little more difficult. So Parkview already does it, but they only do it with their own staff. So they don't allow the public, family members or anybody to come in. So they're allowing our team to do it for the community while they'll keep doing it just for their own staff. So we can use their setup and it'll make it easier for us and our team of volunteers. And our goal is that once we get good at it, we can run more people through, because you could run every 8 minutes people through, but as of right now, because we're just starting this out, we really want to make sure that the people we're running through, we give them a lot of attention and a really valuable learning experience. So we're starting it out really slow and manageable so that our volunteers in that way, let's say we have 2 volunteers helping and they both get sick, that me and Elisa could run people through it ourselves if, you know, because people have illness and people have family emergencies and things like that. So we're trying to start it out really slow and then add on more times and maybe change locations if there's certain businesses or events that would really benefit from it. But we really want to make sure that we manage our expectations so that it doesn't make our volunteers or ourselves overwhelmed, because we want to make sure that the community gets the most value out of the experience.
thank you, Nicole.
Good connection. to be able to do that.
Anything else, Nicole?
I think that's it. Like I said, we have our Community Food Connect every first Tuesday of each month, except this January, it'll be the second Tuesday. So if anyone knows any presenters who are interested in coming in, and it doesn't have to be ethnic cuisine that's really outside of the normal boundaries. So we do have a professor from UW Oshkosh who was born in Eastern Europe. And she's going to be coming in, I think in May when her doctorate thesis is done. And she's going to have talk about Eastern European food. So if there's anyone's culture that they feel connected to and wanted to, present about it and bring it in, we're really open to hearing about different types of families and different types of culture, because we all come from somewhere, and it's really exciting to learn and connect with people about how they grew up.
Laura,
Thank you.
for Kia Flats might be willing to, she's on the mid-morning Rotary. But anyway, she travels for the winter, but remind me to get you her.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Alana, do you want to run us through our activities in public health?
I'll try to keep it quick. I know we're getting towards the end. Today, our director, Doug, was able to travel to Madison and participate in DHS's chronic prevention workshop. So really, there's been a lot of gap as our nurses were all pulled into COVID over the past 2 years of really having a focus for DHS. Falls prevention has always stayed clear. But what you guys have done with the aging plan is always aligned with what we're trying to do over here. And now Teresa Paulus will be retiring this spring, and she is a nurse that we've had working with our housing authority population and the elderly adult population. So as this position becomes vacant, we just want to look at all of our programming. Where's our focus? Is it more direct service right now, or do we need to get more into the strategy and prevention side of chronic illness? We feel at this point that we are lacking in terms of more consistency around the Wellness Plus classes being in enough places. It's gotten so much better since it was the last 2 years, but it can still have more variety of topics. We also have brought up that there's a lot of gaps in family planning. And so as a department that services the whole age and adult range, that's a major concern in Winnebago County right now. And our rates just are not looking good for STIs, STDs. So we may use a nurse to really start focusing in on that prevention. Otherwise, we are keep on keeping on. Like I said, Teresa's position will be a change for us, and Lori Duquan used to attend these ADRC meetings. She may come back to them depending on how we prioritize. If we hire another community health strategist into this team, they may come into this role. But either way, I will likely not be in this role, which I'm sorry. I'm sad. I like all you guys, and I'll still come around here and there. But with us resuming our services, my role as a supervisor is becoming pretty intense to the point that I can't really be in the program specific areas. So I will swing by and see you guys when I'm needed, but you'll likely see new faces in 2023.
Well, we're sorry to see you leave.
Yeah.
Good luck. Let's do a lightning round. Harold, anything?
Mr. Chair, I have no update.
Rob?
Yeah, on a personal note, I've been taking the stepping on class. There's 5 people in there. And we've had different speakers. So it's been a very interesting, it's a 2-hour class. And we have different exercises to do. One day it's a strengthening exercise this, I should say. And what was the other? Drawing a blank. Must be my age. I'll be 60 in March. So
No.
What?
No.
You will not.
I will
Really?
be 60 in March.
Let me see your birth certificate. I'm just kidding.
Good for your age, Rob.
So, but that's all I have.
Thank you. Jacob or Rudy?
He's not here.
Okay.
Just a Michael, Janet, come on.
Anybody, did I miss anybody else in the room?
Michael's here.
Okay, Michael, sorry.
Michael and Mike, we have 2.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. And the reason I wasn't here before today is because I got sepsis on 9/11. And then on top of everything else, I had cellulitis in my right leg, sepsis, AFib, pneumonia. And so as of Thanksgiving, that was the actual day that I really felt pretty good. And I still go to the cardiologist, and I got an appointment coming up for that. So I apologize for not being here. I really want to get involved with everything, and any way I can help, I'm here for you.
Glad you're healthy again.
Yeah.
Thanks for the update. Appreciate it very much. Jan?
There's a new program that's being started. I don't know if anybody's aware of this. It's called Brighter Days. It's a support program. There's a brochure out on it of and it's being partnered from NAMI as well as the YMCA in Oshkosh. And has like a 3-pronged approach. They just went through a whole pilot program this fall and to determine what the needs were. And it's basically aiming at ages 55 and up and people who have experienced the loss of their partner. So they're starting it officially in January, and they're going to be rotating as far as the site between the 2 YMCAs. There was once a week, there's a support group through NAMI for depression and so forth. The second one is going to be like a group training and zero in more on wellness and fitness. And the third arm of it is an enrichment session more for socialization of people who are now feeling isolated because they've lost their partners, and doing things like potluck socials, pickleball, that kind of thing. So that is, just be aware that is out there. You can get probably more information through the YMCAs. The only reason I got light word of it is there's it's being supported financially through some foundations, and there's a friend of mine who has a foundation that she's helping with this. Otherwise, that's it.
Thanks, Jan. Tomorrow? Okay. Mike Norton,
Couple things, do I understand correctly, Beth? This new alternative to Route 10, are we, by we, meaning the Winnebago County, going to be funding part of it or no? Because we are.
The county I'm nodding your head, my head in acknowledgement of your question. John Damel has to make a decision on what, if anything, he's gonna fund.
Because I talked to Lindsay Erickson, who's on the city council, she indicated there was, so I'm just clarifying that.
Yeah, it was the city presented it to the county exec last week, and he just has to decide how much, what and how much the per county would pay for.
Has the county, have you told or requested me, the county executive expanded that to more than just between Nina and Oshkosh?
We would love to, but at this point, it would only be a transit center to transit center.
Okay, that's another thing I didn't get from Lindsay Erickson. Second thing, could we, in the next few months, invite, what's that, you know where they are, you went to their opening, that business that deals with autism down the street from me?
Yep.
And I respectfully ask you, doesn't have to be next month, but before May, isn't May National Autism Awareness Month? Because I like to do a resolution this time and do some other things. So anytime between now and April, I would
I
appreciate it.
think I have to say no to that, because we have to be very unbiased.
Okay.
I'm kind of looking for Brian, because he's had just as much familiarity as I have with presenters. We would have to invite all autism agents.
Yeah, just like we do with our MCOs.
Okay. I
We
didn't-
can't just have Lakeland, we have to have all
Yeah,
three of them.
I'm pretty sure. So unless I invite about 6 to 7 agencies, I really can't invite
Okay,
one.
didn't know there were that many, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there are a lot. We could talk to Liz though about, someone from the Autism Society who can talk more globally about those agencies and autism awareness, and what we do.
My plan is to have a resolution for May, designate that, and also someone thinks that would be a good month to have. If you notice in November, I think Mike probably saw it, we had green lights for the Green Light Project for veterans. This person commented on one of the county executives' posts on his Facebook page that blue should be the lights of the colors for that month. So I was gonna maybe request that for that month for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, that's what I have.
Sounds good.
I only have one other comment to make. I was out and about in Oshkosh today, and I noticed that one of the city buses for the city of Oshkosh was wrapped in ADRC, get help, dementia services and a variety of other things. Props to you, Beth, and to your staff for getting that arranged, and that was very effective.
Yeah, we had just a last minute, spend it today or lose it, and Nicole was able to quickly work with public health and throwing that together. Yep.
So, all over the city, and like I say, I was very impressed with how it looked, and the colors were great, and
Thank
so
you.
perfect. Any other questions or comments? We ran a little long, but that's okay, because sometimes we are short in our meetings too. So with that, wish you all a happy holiday season, and we're adjourned until next month,
January 9th.
January 9th.
Yep.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays, everybody.
Good meeting. I need this. I'm talking about Rodney.
What's his name? Oh, yeah, from Robbie's
He
Cafe.
could probably